Hi, so viewers, it's time for the news. Thank you so much for joining us. Our major stories tonight: traders at the round market in the Douala 4 subdivision are now stranded after several makeshift shops were demolished earlier today by local authorities. The business people, most of them internally displaced persons in Bonaberi, say they used sales from their shops to feed their families. And local authorities saying the demolition exercise is aimed at embellishing Bonaberi. And several personalities, including prominent artists and civil society actors, call on Cameroonians to massively register on the electoral list wherever they meet Electoral officials with registration kits. They say participating fully in the next election is the only way to bring the desired change in the country. Viewers, those are our major stories. Details when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We told you in the headlines that in Bonaberi, over 100 makeshift structures have been demolished by authorities at the Royal Market in Bonaberi in the Douala 4 subdivision. The stranded traders, most of whom from the conflict-hit northwest and southwest regions, say they have lost millions of franc CFA as a result of the demolition. Immaculate Fogwe tells us more on what happened at the Royal Market in Bonaberi today.
A difficult day for traders at the Royal Market in Bonaberi Douala 4 subdivision as they wonder on where next to go to after their makeshift stores got demolished on the night of Thursday, April 11th.
Doing our businesses here about 10:30 p.m. last night, and then we noticed a lot of people were rushing, packing out things, and they said they got information that they were going to come and break stores, break shops around Rye Market. But to our greatest surprise, we noticed that those of us even in front of the Rye Market, that's the road going to Bonandale.
They equally fume at the fact that no other site has been allocated for them to resettle.
The Anglophones guys who ran away from the war, who thought that Cameroon is one, they can live here without any havoc. They have been exercising business here for some 3, 4, 5 years.
Never really got an official notification about the breaking. Until now, we don't know the limits of where they're going to break, because they are complaining that people have saturated the roads, which is true. Some people are actually selling on the roads, but some are out of the road, and so it's actually affecting a lot of people right now. Asking where they're not supposed to have created this environment, relocated these women. Due to the economic situation of Cameroon, they just came, break us, and then...
All attempts to get the reaction of municipal authorities were futile. As of now, victims of the demolition exercise are yet to recover from the huge material loss incurred.
And now we talk politics. The high voter party in Cameroon is a major concern for observers, civil society and political leaders in the country. Cameroon, with an estimated 15 million eligible voters, has its leaders elected by less than 3 million people only. Taking the example of the 2018 presidential elections, the situation needs to change in order to have elected leaders with legitimacy. That is according to the actors. This the present as the major motivation to the numerous calls for massive voters registration in the country ahead of the 2025 presidential election. From me, I'm from Sanda. Tells us more.
End of the month of March, marking the end of the first quarter of 2024, the elections governing body Electoral registered some 144,819 new voters in Cameroon. The new figure brings the total number of registered voters to 7.5 million across the country. However, observers, civil society and political actors say that this total number is not enough, given that Cameroon has an estimated 15 million eligible voters. This has resulted in multiple sectoral calls for young people to get registered on the electoral register. One of such loud voices is that of the coalition of civil societies.
We actually created this popular organization for the purpose of mobilizing young people to participate in the electoral and democratic process of this nation.
As one of the founding fathers, Professor Mark Anthony explains their motivation.
This is a country that is estimated to over 30 million people, but if you look at what is happening yearly, when there is an election, you hear that 4 million people registered, 3 something voted, 2 million something decided who becomes the president, who becomes this and that. So we need that to change.
His coalition of civil societies is convinced that a massive registration and a massive voter turnout can make the difference.
Your vote counts. That is your voice. And if you want to be heard, if you want to participate in shaping the policies that will influence your life tomorrow, then registering to vote is the basic thing you should do. It is a basic responsibility of every citizen. Refusing to vote is rigging the elections already. That is the rigging machine.
One of these major and loud calls to Cameroonians came from Archbishop Andrew Kia, Archbishop of the Bamenda Archdiocese and President of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon.
And now you have noticed that mangoes are now highly available and consumed. Health experts in Cameroon urge the local population to thoroughly wash mangoes before consuming them so as to limit the risk of being infected or exposed to diseases such as cholera and also typhoid. Their call comes at a time when mangoes, we are at the peak of the mango season. In the report, it comes up next. Lucille Yengu is here, takes us to Lum, Jumbe and Banga, where mangoes are highly produced and also consumed.
Mangifera indica, commonly known as mango, is a nutritious tropical fruit rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. In Lum, Jombe, Penja, and Banga, in the littoral region, farmers say this year there is an increase in mango yields.
Non, cette année, il y a eu plus de production que des années d'ici, donc depuis 5 ans.
Since the start of the mango season, farmers in Penja harvest at least 500 cartons of mangoes, which are transported to other regions.
Sur Yaoundé, sans compter des autres mangues qui vont à Bafoussam, Douala, c'est notre coin Yaoundé, on travaille tous les jours et ne manque pas d'envoyer même 300 à 400 cartons chaque jour.
Though the delicious fruit is consumed by many, some say it is dangerous for the health because it is contaminated by insects.
Ça garantit pas ça toujours les microbes. C'est quand il mangue là-bas. Tu vas voir les asticots dedans. Ça sort d'où?
Les premiers mangues, déjà, d'abord, ne sont même pas conseillés à les soucier parce qu'elles donnent des maladies.
Health experts advise a thorough washing process to remove dirt and surface impurities on the mangoes.
Il faut bien laver au feu avant de consommer. Là, il faut ajouter quelques gouttes d'eau de javel pour mieux désinfecter.
This step is crucial to ensure the hygiene and cleanliness of the mangoes to avoid diseases such as diarrhea, stomach infections, allergies, throat swelling, and other health problems.
And now let's take you to Senegal. Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has given strict instructions to all civil servants. He reminded them that the interest of the nation should be their priority. This is contained in an open letter. Babula Jonathan read through that letter and compared greater details in the report which comes up next.
Rectitude, probity, and exemplary. These are the first prescriptions given by Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye to all civil servants. In an open letter, he urged all civil servants to put service to citizens and their well-being above all other considerations in the discharge of their daily duties. For success in government's efforts to enhance the unity and prosperity of the nation, President Diomaye Faye says transparency and integrity in all actions and decisions, notably the management of public funds, is crucial as established in the December 27, 2012 Transparency Law. To ensure the respect of this cardinal principle of good governance, President Diomaye Faye reminds his co-workers in the nation's vineyard that it is vital for all persons, including whistleblowers, to be free to share information on irregularities or malpractices without fear. To President Faye, this reflects the authorities' determination to build a virtuous and law-abiding government established on ethics, responsibility, accountability, and honor at the service of the people. After assuring the civil servants of his support, the President has asked them to double their efforts in service to the nation.
And now from Senegal, we take you to Mali, where the ruling government in place has stopped the media from covering or saying anything concerning the ruling of the running of the nation, a ban that has been criticized by so many political actors in Mali. Mala Glory.
Speaking to his supporters in the Zulu language outside the High Court in Johannesburg, Jacob Zuma questioned why Ramaphosa has not been in court over the Pala scandal. This scandal surfaced when spy boss Atiu Fraser revealed that Ramaphosa had allegedly concealed a crime after millions of dollars were stolen at his Limpopo farm in Bela Bela. This is after a brief order that they had inside the court where Jacob Zuma accused the president of committing a criminal offense by not acting against state advocate Billy Downer's alleged leak of his medical records to journalist Karim Morgan in 2021. At the end of Thursday's court session, the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg postponed his bid against his successor to August 6, 2024. And elsewhere in Mali, shortly after Mali's junta suspended political party activities in the country, the military junta has banned the media from reporting on political parties and associations. This is contained in a communique signed by the coup leaders calling on all media, radio, television, print, and online to suspend the broadcasting and publication of the activities of political parties and the political activities of associations. The Journalists Association in Mali, on their part, rejected this request and called on the media to continue covering politics in the Sahelian country. The National Human Rights Commission, in another release issued on Thursday night, warned the junta that the restrictions on fundamental rights could lead to tension in the country. The United Nations has also condemned Mali's recent authoritarian measures, calling for their immediate repeal.
And that does it for the first part. The news talking point comes up next. Stay with us. Our guest tonight is Sama Abang Mugwa. You are a social and political commentator. Thank you so much for accepting to be our guest and talking point tonight.
Yes, and good evening. Thank you for having me on your set once more. It's always an honor and a privilege to me. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Sama, recently we have these calls by religious authorities, civil society actors, and also prominent artists calling on Cameroonians to register massively ahead of the 2025 elections in Cameroon. Now, where does this sudden motivation come from? Why now, in your opinion?
For me to tell you that I am quite certain of where this sudden motivation, as you say, comes from, I would be doing dishonesty to myself. But I understand that we are on the eve of an election year. 2025 is going to be a year of triple elections in this country. We are talking about the twin elections for municipal and parliamentary officials, and then the other one, which is quite, should I say, a much bigger fish, which is the presidential election. And so it's obvious that stakeholders and personalities involved in election matters in this country would definitely be awake at this hour, preparing the ground and doing the needful in view of these elections. Again, I may add that to some small extent, the Senegal fever is responsible. Senegal did not only speak to Cameroon, he spoke to the rest of Africa and other third world countries which happen to find themselves under the yoke of tyranny and dictatorship. And so the Senegalese experience is definitely a factor that stakeholders want to benefit from, to hoping that the experience in Senegal could be replicated in Cameroon. So basically, those to me are the two motivations why there is so much talk about voter registration.
And now we have other countries like Chad, Niger, and even Burkina Faso, where change was imposed on the people, let's say so, besides Senegal. Now, can you tell us how the examples of what is happening in those other countries, can you explain further how they have acted as a push factor for Cameroonians to wake up from their long-time slumber?
Yes, certainly the Senegal factor is an influential and an undeniable factor responsible for this sudden push, where people still, rightly or wrongly, believe that the ballot box is still a veritable means of bringing about political change. It may have happened in Senegal, it may have happened in some other countries. People still think that that is the way out in Cameroon, and so in order not to be caught napping, stakeholders, political stakeholders, civil society stakeholders, religious stakeholders, opinion leaders think that while we are hoping for improvements in the other aspects of democracy and electioning, we should start by, first of all, having ourselves registered, because an unregistered citizen is a citizen without a case. If you are not registered for elections, you have little or no case whether those elections come out to be free and fair or unfree and unfair. And so that is why they think that it will play an advantage to give legitimacy to the political actors if a good number of citizens of eligible voting age effectively and massively register.
You're right there, Mr. Sama. If you don't register or if you don't vote, you have no grounds to complain on after. Now, it's an excellent move seeing Cameroonians being so interested in registering for the 2025 election. But as a civil society actor, a political commentator, and also an opinion leader, what are some other factors which should be taken into consideration to ensure that the registration process is made easier for prospective electors or voters?
And that is where I may differ with the crowd. That is where I may not want to join the bandwagon by thinking that everything starts and ends at the doorsteps of massive voter registration. There is more to it than simply just registering, because we have seen that electioning in this country is just like a game of football that is manipulated, where you find one team brings its officials to officiate over the match, and the other team or the other teams are at the mercy of these officials, where you find that the rule books of the game are written, interpreted, and implemented by the players and the officials on the payroll of one team, as against or at the detriment of every other opposing team. And that is why I think that it does not just end at calling out people, calling out eligible voters to massively register. Political actors, especially disfavored political actors of the opposition camp, have to do more than that. And that is where I am in line with this NRC political party, which has not only been asking for asking citizens to get registered, but asking for a review of the entire electoral code and the entire electoral system. Because winning and losing an election does not just start and end at the doorsteps of voter registration. There is more to it than just massively being registered.
You're already getting into my next question somehow. I beg your pardon. Should it just end at the level of registration? Like we're already struggling to, we are attempting an answer already, because we can register massively and not put in that same effort or energy to go and vote. What should Cameroonians do to ensure that the change they deserve is gotten? What next steps should not be ignored after registration?
And you see that you are queuing in line with my reasoning, that it doesn't just start at registration, but I want to go further than you again to say that it doesn't just end at the level of massive voting, but it goes further than that. 3.3 has to do with the willingness, the zeal to defend your vote. Do we have Cameroonians who can defend their votes, as we saw in Senegal? That is where the language of Senegalese, the language of the vibrant youth in Senegal is different from the language that is spoken and understood in Cameroon. Senegalese youths speak a different language from what is spoken by Cameroonian youths, from the language that is understood within the Cameroonian political and electoral system. And that is where we might not learn anything, or we might not gain anything, any benefit from the Senegalese experience. As is a political platform, political land space that is characterized by the language of tribal politics, of ethnic politics, of the politics of the me now, and the politics of je veux voir mes enfants grandir. But that is not the language that was spoken and understood in Senegal and in other countries where the youths have changed, have successfully not only voted but changed the political landscape in their countries. Unfortunately, and I don't know whether by then you were born, but in the 90s, with the rebirth of multi-party politics in this country, I was still a young man of about 15, 16 years old in Form 4. But I remember that in those days there was something that used to be called the Bamenda Chop Fire spirit. It was a spirit that was able, that was willing to withstand and resist the odds and stand for what was right. That spirit was translated to other parts of the country, and that is why there was a massive opposition following in the 90s. Unfortunately, that spirit has been killed so terribly, killed and extinct, such that it is very difficult for us to imagine whether there can be a rebirth of that Bamenda Chopfire spirit, which could be translated to other parts of the territory, where youth could be able to stand up without only thinking of je veux voir mes enfants grandir, whether youth could think beyond the now and the then and the me, and think as Senegalese have taught, and the lessons that Senegal is speaking to the rest of the world. So what I think is we need a youthful population that is willing to not only massively register, but massively vote and massively protect and safeguard their vote to ensure that what is declared is what reflects the expectations and the voting propensity of the youth.
Right there, not only massively vote, but also massively do they follow up, protect and safeguard their vote. And also to mention that the language of the Cameroonian youth this time around seems to be changing. Cameroonian youth now seem to be very determined more than ever before to ensure that there is change in 2025. Now, do you see any possibilities of a smooth registration process, a free and fair voting exercise to the transparent publication of election results in Cameroon? It has happened elsewhere before our own very eyes. Can that be very possible in Cameroon?
If I were to say no, then I will be giving credence to those who think that going out to register and to vote is a waste of time and energy and then resources. But if I were to say yes, then history will not judge me fairly, because I would fall on the wrong side of history as one of those who misled Cameroonian youths. But what I think, and permit me make this analogy, our political landscape is like a football match between one team which makes the rules, one team which comes with the match officials, from the match commissioner to the central referee to the assistant referees, and even the VAR. And worst case is even the VAR technology and the machines used for contestations are the machines and equipment of one team. We are talking of a society, a system where one team, the players of one team have the right to train on the synthetic playground, while the players of all other teams train in mud and in dust. We are talking of a system where sympathizers, supporters, the fans of one team have free access into the stadium, while those of other teams are restricted from even meeting, from even jubilating if and when their teams happen to score, where fans of some other teams do not have even the right of entry into the stadium, do not even have the right to buy entry tickets into the stadium, do not even have the right to wear the t-shirts of their teams. That is the type of society we are talking about. And we are talking about a society where the entire electoral code against all other teams.
In case every Cameroonian is advised to have a voter's card. Mr. Sama Mungwa, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight.
It was a pleasure again talking with you. It is my wish and my prayer that my modest contributions can help in its own little way to change the face of this country, which is the only country that we have. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you again, and hope to have you some other time. And viewers, thank you so much for always being with us. Don't go away. Our programs continue. The news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Equinoxe at 7 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now, and have a wonderful weekend.